Hello and welcome to Adapt or Perish, a podcast about adaptation. I'm Jeremy Latour.
And I'm Ian Averill. And today we're talking about Lilo and Stitch.
But why do we need to talk about it? You've seen it. Everybody's seen it. It's making so much money. And I feel like box office is something we never really talk about on the show.
Mm-hmm.
But I think of box office the same way I think about like the Oscars. It's not the end all be all. It's just certainly an indication sometimes of something.
Sure.
And in this case, it happens to be an indication of basic popularity. Like I see a lot of people talking about how Snow White bombed so hard, but Lilo and Stitch did gangbusters. And it's like, yeah, I mean, Lilo and Stitch came out when all of the millennials have kids. Mm-hmm. So yeah.
That is definitely a big factor, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's the only factor, but anyway, we're here to talk about Lilo and Stitch. I have a back of the VHS here. I guess it would be a DVD. It was 2002. Lilo is a lonely Hawaiian girl who adopts a small, ugly, quote-unquote, dog, whom she names Stitch. Stitch would be the perfect pet if he weren't in reality a genetic experiment who has escaped from an alien planet and crash-landed on Earth. Through her love, faith, and unwavering belief in Ohana, the Hawaiian concept of family, Lilo helps unlock Stitch's heart and gives him the ability to care for someone else. Mm-hmm. I have this to say. I love this movie so much. I love it. It's perfect.
It's extremely good.
It sounds like you're here to say something other than it's amazing.
I'm not. I'm going to, I don't know if you noticed this, but I gave it only 4 stars, and I'm going to tell you why. It's not anything to do with the quality of the movie.
Which is impeccable.
It is impeccable. It is top-notch. I love it. And I love this movie.
I don't know why I'm taking the stance on this. Like, opinions are great.
No, totally. I did see this movie, maybe not in theaters, but like when it came out. And I haven't seen it since.
Oh.
So this movie is not as much of a like hardcore like canon thing to me as it is to a lot of people my age. Just based on that, even though, like I said, it's impeccable, I just can't like 5 stars is like personal canon type stuff, and I just can't put it there because I would feel like a poser trying to pretend that it was.
Yes. Well, you should watch it more.
Yeah, I should. You're right, and maybe in a while that can change.
Don't let it be another 20 years before you watch it again, because this movie is wonderful.
And I remember loving it then.
Yeah,
I just never got around to watching it again in the time since, but it's so good.
I mean, the creative team behind it, so it was written and directed by Chris Sanders and Dean DeBlois, who also wrote and directed How to Train Your Dragon, which is also wonderful.
Chris Sanders is having a hell of a summer.
Yeah, well, Dean DeBlois is doing How to Train Your Dragon.
So together they're having a hell of a summer.
Exactly, yeah. Sanders would go on to direct The Call of the Wild, the Harrison Ford version, and he just did The Good Robot, which many people love. I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
They've been around for a long time. They are quite successful in the world of animation. The thing I think is important is that Chris Sanders created Stitch in 1985. So he was holding on to this character for a long time. And the story of Chris Sanders at Disney in the 80s and 90s is just fascinating because he just got a job at Disney in Disney animation and was good and just kind of rose through the ranks and got more and more exposure and was in charge of more and more things. And then eventually there was a point where he could kind of pitch whatever he wanted. And someone else said, hey, your alien thing, pitch that. Maybe not just an alien. There should be like a counterpoint. He says, yeah, like a kid, like an Earth kid, right? And so he created like a little boy. And then he thought, no, I mean, I feel like at least him, the way he was developing like a little boy character, he's like, I think that kid's probably going to get along with Stitch more than anything and isn't really going to be adversarial with Stitch. And I want someone who's going to be an adversary to him in some ways. So he developed Lilo. And why is it in Hawaii? Because he looked at a map and was like, Stitch should be on an island away from cities. Like he threw the whole thing together in a couple of days.
Yeah.
But that treatment that he put together largely became the movie. And there are some parts of it that it kind of blow me away. Like one of the things that I love about this movie is the representation of Hawaii and Hawaiian culture. He wanted it to be Hawaii, but they knew that would actually mean something, and they knew that would mean doing research, and that would mean casting the right people. So like there's a fantastic interview that I read some excerpts from with Tia Carrere, who plays Nani, Lilo's older sister, who is from Honolulu. And when they cast her, like she still feels to this day that it was really a collaboration because they looked at her and said, you actually know how like a teenager in Hawaii would talk. So help us out. And so she brought a lot to it. And David, her like not really boyfriend, but definitely wants to be her boyfriend, is Jason Scott Lee, who's also from Hawaii. And she recommended him for the part because he's from Hawaii. So there just ended up being all of these really nice ways that they actually, by all accounts, did the research and made something that was a really beautiful look at a piece of American culture in this story about an alien who messes stuff up. I love it. I'm a fan of this movie.
Me too. Do you want to hear my like 20-year later like deep felt connection to this movie watching it now?
Absolutely.
I have a dog. And that dog
I have a kid.
Right. And that dog, his name is Jane. I'm part of a fraternity of, of people that, you have a bad dog, like he's a bad dog. And like, is that largely my fault? Absolutely. But it's just like, it's the way it is now. And like, he's a bad dog. This is one of the reasons why I'm excited for the new Superman. It's about being an owner of a bad dog.
Yeah. I was myself an owner of a bad dog who I loved dearly. Ari and I loved him so much, but he was a bad dog in a lot of ways.
And that's great. And the fondness that I feel for Stitch as the platonic ideal of the little stinker.
Yeah.
It knows no bounds, especially at this point in my life. Where I have a perfect little stinker of my own.
Just so everybody knows, I've met Jane and I agree wholeheartedly. He's a wonderful dog and I love Jane, but he's a bad dog.
Yeah, he's a bad boy. He's no good.
Yeah.
He's no good and very bad.
No, I mean the thing that hit me this time, because I rewatch this movie every few years, and this is the first time that I think I've really sat down to watch it since having like a kid. Because I watched it a few years ago when Calvin was still like a baby, and watching it this time, watching Lilo in this movie blew me away. Like Lilo has temper tantrum at the beginning of the movie where she's fighting with Nani, and it's better than I remember. Like I didn't remember it being as good as it was. I remembered it, but now watching every second of it, it's so perfectly rendered. And I say that as someone who has to deal with a 5-year-old who is sometimes intractable and loud. One of the other things in the movie that I love is the moment that even at the time I was like, oh, I know that's something little kids do. There's the part where they're adopting Stitch. Like Nani's about to hand over the $2 for the license. And Lilo yells, I want to buy him. And even at the time, I was like, oh, yeah, that's something kids do.
Yeah.
I knew that. But I didn't really understand. Like, I didn't appreciate how good it was. But now, like, just every single little moment. Actually, so this is something I wanted to mention is I am sure that this is not a hot take.
Okay.
And if this was a full-length episode, I'd probably hold off on this for a little bit longer. But it's a mini, so I got to talk about it. It occurred to me while watching the original, having only seen trailers for the new one.
Yeah.
Stitch is easy.
Yeah.
Like, Stitch was always easy. Stitch was easy to pitch. Stitch was easy to come up with. Stitch was easy to do. Relatively, like animation is hard, but Stitch is easy. Like he's funny and rude and kills it every time he's on screen. Lilo is hard.
Yes.
She needs to be subtle and relatable and feel like a real kid. So like, I'm sure other people have made this observation, but like Stitch was never going to be the harder character to bring to live action. Lilo was going to be the hard character to bring to live action.
Totally.
And it's the I want to buy him scene that really hit home for me, which is like, this is the power of animation, because Lilo was voiced by DeVay Chase, and she was, I think, 10 or 11 when she recorded it. I think she was 12 when the movie came out, and Lilo is 6. And that's the power of an 11-year-old voicing a character animated by some of the best animators in the business. Stitch can't exist in real life, but you'd never even think he could exist in real life. It makes sense that he can't exist in real life because he's an alien.
Yeah.
Lilo also can't exist in real life, but she's supposed to remind you of every kid you've ever met. And so it feels like she exists in real life, even though she really doesn't. It's the Bobby Hill problem. Like I remember I had a hot take years ago, which is that King of the Hill doesn't need to be animated. They could just do it in live action, which like it took me a while to realize how silly that is. Yeah. But it was watching it again and seeing Bobby Hill Like Bobby, you can't do Bobby Hill in live action. The only way you can do Bobby Hill is animate him and have him voiced by like a middle-aged woman. You know, like they needed to all come together to create this amazing character. And I feel like that's Lilo. Like Lilo is by far one of my favorite animated characters of all time. And Stitch is also one of my favorites, but Lilo's amazing. Stitch is great, but Lilo's amazing.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I mean, you know, we'll talk about it more in a minute, but like, and that's why, like, you know, Stitch is one of the like better parts of the live action one, but that's because he's the same. Like,
yes, yeah.
He's just the same as in the original, because that's all you have to do, and it's easy. Just do Stitch exactly the same. Mm-hmm. The other things you can't do the same though, and so that's where it gets tricky.
Yeah. Ian, tell me more about your experience of watching this.
Well, you know what I noticed? Mm-hmm. I was watching this with the subtitles on. I just thought it was just dumb and cute that this doesn't actually have to do with the movie. It's just the subtitles. But in the very beginning, when there's spaceship stuff going on, when the shark guy like walks onto the bridge of the prison ship.
Are you talking about Captain Gantu, voiced by Kevin Michael Richardson?
Yes, I am. I didn't know his name. Sorry. I'll have more to say about that in the live action one. But he walks onto the bridge and the computer is talking to him, and the subtitle says Star Trek-like computer voice.
Amazing.
Which I thought was weird. My other little thing is that, what's the character's name? Dr. Jumbo?
Dr. Jumba Jukiba.
Yeah. Jumba is voiced by David Ogden Stiers.
Stiers. I always said it as Steers, but I believe it's Stiers.
Interesting.
Because I was just watching a clip of Chris Sanders talking about him and talking about them recording together, and he said Stiers, and so I think I've been wrong this whole time.
Okay. Well, anyway, he plays that character, and he is doing this accent that is exactly the same accent he does when he is playing the Ukrainian character in the full voice cast audiobook for World War Z.
Amazing.
And it's the exact same voice, and I've listened to it 1 million times because I've listened to the audiobook for World War Z over and over again for many years. And he's just using his Ukrainian accent that he has for the character.
Yeah, his like Eastern European kind of thing.
Yeah. It was very surreal for me to watch it now for the first time in like 20 years. You know, that was kind of crazy.
Jumba's such a great character. He's such a poop head. But this is an episode for kids. I just want to be clear to everybody.
So I can't. Okay,
this is the Disney one. Yes. Yeah. No, Dr. Jumba is a poop head.
Yeah.
But he's not that bad. He learns a lesson about empathy by the end of it. He proves himself to be very empathetic throughout the whole thing. He's got one of my favorite moments in it. One of my favorite moments with Jumba we'll get to in a minute because it does not make it to the new one, and I'm still mad about it. I guess, like, before we get to the new one, like, yes, I think the movie is stunning with its Chris Sanders character design, because everyone was told don't do the Disney style, draw like Chris Sanders, so it all looks like his illustration. I love the watercolor backgrounds and the incredibly evocative recreation of Hawaii and the perfect tonal balance between reality and sci-fi. But like, that's not what impresses me the most. I love the story.
Yeah,
just the simple, straightforward, like, this is a story about family. They didn't even know that Ohana was going to be the theme of the movie until they went to Hawaii and went on a tour, and their tour guide knew everybody everywhere, and they were like, you seem to know everybody, you seem to have family members everywhere. And he was like, well, we got this thing called Ohana. And they were like, oh, go on. That sounds like something. Like, it's just perfect and simple, and it's the kind of thing where, because it's so simple, I think anyone can watch it and it can be really universal, and it'll bring out different people's experiences in it. I just love this story about Lilo and Stitch, these like perfect little match of two characters. They are so perfectly created as complementary characters. Right. This movie's great.
Well, it's because with what we were talking about earlier, like, you were saying that he wanted a character that was gonna be at odds with Stitch, you know.
Yeah.
But what makes them so great is that, like, Lilo is bad too, or like, people are always calling her bad. I mean, and she's like, she makes a lot of mistakes.
Yes.
And she's always screwing up, and she, like, you know, doesn't take certain things seriously that she probably could. But, you know, she's a kid, so who cares?
Yeah.
They're both bad, but it's not like she still is mad that he's bad, like
Yeah.
they are at odds with each other, and like it just works. It works so well.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy that you say that he just picked Hawaii just by looking at a map, and of course realizing that Stitch should be kind of away from like huge, like large civilization.
Yeah.
But then it just makes for that incredible, like he must have thought of that and then writes the scene where the Grand Councilwoman and they're like tracking the ship he's on and where it's going to land on Earth. And which they're like, it's mostly water. He's doomed. Like, he'll sink. He's too heavy. And then it just like perfectly happens to land on Hawaii. And they're like, oh no. Mm-hmm. And like, that's perfect. It's amazing.
And I can see why people were excited about the new one. And we should talk about the new one now.
Yeah.
Directed by Dean Fleischer Camp.
Mm-hmm.
It was written by Chris Cacanio-Kalani, Bright, and Mike Van Wise.
Mm-hmm.
And it is now live action. Okay, so this is a mini episode, so we have to make this really quick. Yes, Disney is doing their live action thing. I am just tired of the discourse. I'm tired of people just dismissing the entire thing out of hand, because I feel like by doing that, it just kind of assumes that they'll never be good. And I just feel like every movie has the chance to be good. It has as much a chance to be good as any other movie. And I will remain optimistic that any Disney live action remake is going to be good.
Yeah.
And even though, yes, a lot of them have not been, but they're just movies, and we can still watch the originals, and that's fine.
Exactly. It is fine.
Don't at me.
Yeah. Is this one fine?
No, this one's not. I mean, this was my question. Who do I blame for this?
I don't know. It's a tough one.
I don't blame Dean Fleischer Camp.
Yeah. He's just one of the many young directors who have been doing this thing, the classic thing that everyone talks about that Disney does, where they just snatch up people that are having indie hits, like to direct their big, expensive movie. I don't know if Disney's doing that as some kind of buffer so that when people don't like it, they can, I mean, it's not like Disney's, when people don't like the movie, they're like, blame the director. Like, that's not happening, but it's kind of maybe happening implicitly.
I think it's just cheaper.
Well, yeah, 100% that's the number one thing. It also lends them a little bit of an air of legitimacy when they do, just because it's like, I've got this artsy guy directing our movie.
Super quick, like the artsy guy you're talking about, the indie hit he had was Marcel the Shell with Shoes On.
Yeah.
And which, did you see it?
I never got around to it.
Oh, it's so good.
I've heard, yeah.
It's so good. And it's like, it is so irreverent and sweet and subtle and affecting. It's so good. This doesn't feel like it was directed by the same person. Like, I was kind of excited when I heard it was going to be him, because I saw this one and I thought, this is someone who has a good sensibility. This doesn't feel like the same person. This feels like it was off the rails, and I wonder how much control he genuinely had over the movie. Maybe he had complete control. Maybe this is 100% his vision, but I don't know.
I doubt it. Like, I don't want to say that it always happens this way, but in what we're talking about, where these indie directors have an indie hit and get snatched up to direct the next Marvel movie or whatever.
Yeah.
A lot of the time what is basically happening is that, like, they are directing the movie, but what they are being handed is essentially like a turnkey movie where, like, everything's storyboarded, everything's decided, know. And also that, like, all of the action set pieces are, like, essentially going to be directed by somebody else, but that happens in all movies practically. Yeah. That's just a fact of movie making that some aspects of Hollywood don't really want you to know about. But yes, they are directing it. They're basically just being put in the job of running the project that's already planned.
Right. Because the movie we have is longer than the original. It is in some ways more complicated.
Yeah.
And yet, at the same time, I wonder, of the producers, who thought that this story would be too complicated and hard to follow.
I don't know.
And I wish I could give more examples of this, but I couldn't take notes during the movie because I was in the theater. But I just imagine someone saying, because we didn't talk about Cobra Bubbles from the original. Right. The Ving Rhames voiced social worker who was formerly of the CIA.
Yes.
And I imagine someone saying, it's too confusing that Cobra Bubbles was in the CIA, but now he's a social worker? He should just be in the CIA, and we'll make a new social worker character.
Well, this is like a real, like, chicken or the egg situation, Jeremy, because that's what obviously I feel the same way. But what I wonder is, is that the genesis of that decision? Or did they just really need to create a new character part for Tia Carrere to be in?
I don't think they needed to. I bet casting Tia Carrere happened after they made the social worker character.
Interesting. I mean, because they very clearly wanted Tia Carrere.
Well, they wanted Tia Carrere. They wanted Jason Scott Lee. Amy Hill is in it as their next door neighbor, and she was a voice in the original. Like there is, I mean, Chris Sanders obviously came back to do the voice of Stitch.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of love in this movie. Like I'm going to go ahead and spoil it. Like, yeah, they cared about the original. Like it's very clear that they loved the original. What about this one?
Okay.
It's too confusing that Jumba is the bad guy, but also he's got a soft side and helps them at the end. He should just be the bad guy with no layers. Explain that one to me.
No, you're right. That's just dumb.
Yeah, it's dumb. It's dumb. So they've eliminated Captain Gantu. He is no longer in it. And Jumba has been promoted from primary antagonist to villain, which he never was in the original.
Yeah, not really.
Okay, yes, they do a whole thing in this where Jumba and Pleakley, the two aliens who come down to Earth and are, undercover tracking Stitch. Yes, in this one, they decided to do something where they just become human and are played by Zach Galifianakis plays Jumba and Billy Magnuson plays Pleakley. We already mentioned David Ogden Stiers, but I didn't mention Kevin McDonald before, but he's my MVP. Of course. Kevin McDonald is my MVP of the original. His Pleakley voice is incredible.
Yeah, so good.
So now it's just, most of the movie is just Zach Galifianakis and Billy Magnuson running around.
Yeah.
Acting the fool. And pretending to be these aliens. And I don't like it.
I'll tell you.
I don't like it.
I thought Billy Magnuson was okay, though. I don't like the decision. I don't think Galifianakis is good in this movie.
Okay.
I'm gonna take a strong stance on that one.
All right.
I didn't like it.
Okay.
I don't like the decision of them running around as humans at all.
Yeah.
But I'm saying in the have to accept it world of this bad choice that is happening and is going badly, Magnuson is like, I like him. I think he's like naturally funny, and I just wish that he'd just gotten to be an alien the whole time. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I mentioned before that I was going to bring this up later, that David Ogden Stiers delivers one of my favorite lines in the movie. It's one of my favorite moments in the movie that shows how Jumba he's more empathetic than he seems, and he has this capacity for empathy. And it's this really quiet scene at night. It's when Stitch is really freaking out about being on an island and not having a city to destroy. And Jumba's talking to Pleakley, and there's no way I could say it with the gravitas that David Ogden Stiers has. But he says, Experiment 626, just for people who don't know, that's Stitch, because he created him. 626 was designed to be a monster, but now he has nothing to destroy. You see, I never gave him a greater purpose. What must it be like to have nothing, not even memories to look back on in the middle of the night? And that's that is beautiful and subtle and affecting, and it's one of my favorite lines that I've ever heard in any movie, and it's incredible. And that's gone because this movie is not interested in subtle. I don't know why it's not interested in subtle, but it isn't interested in subtle. And also, this version of Jumba lacks the basic empathy to even say something. This Jumba would never say anything like that because he's just a two-dimensional villain. And that bums me out.
Yeah.
Do you mind if I do some quick hits?
Yeah, go for it.
There's a lot we lose. So the physical match of Lilo and Stitch. So, okay. Lilo is played by Maya Kealoha. And also Nani is played by Sydney Elizabeth Agudong.
Yeah.
And I actually think they're both good.
Yeah.
I think Maya is good as Lilo. I think
she's super cute.
It's a good child performance. She's very cute. I think Sydney Elizabeth Agudong is really good as Nani. I think the problem is the way they're being used and what they're expected to do and what they're expected to carry. So as an example,
precisely.
The physical match between Lilo and Stitch is gone. You could cheat it with a cartoon with them being exactly the same size, but now these characters have to plausibly exist in the real world together, and Stitch is too small to be a match for Lilo. I know this is going to sound weird. I think they made Stitch too small in the movie. I don't know why he's not bigger.
I don't know. Do you think that they were once it was put into live action, were they no one is going to just be I guess that's a dog.
Yeah,
if he's too big.
That's also another problem with it.
And it's the problem. It's the problem with doing these live action versions at all. That's always the biggest problem, is that there's just things in cartoon reality that when you put them into live action, it changes the entire dynamic in ways that make it not work. And And anyway.
Yeah. Here's another thing we lose. We lose that gentle and assured tone. In its place is a movie that I would call manic.
Yeah.
I saw someone say that the opening scene in space looks like it was edited like a TikTok video. I could not agree more because there's so many of these like TikToks and Reels and YouTube shorts that are scenes from movies, but in order to make them fit in the minute that you have, they're cut down so it's just the dialogue, but they cut out all the silence between the lines. And it's like, I'm very used to watching clips this way now, and the movie felt like that, and that is a bummer.
Can I say a funny little thing that I was just, I couldn't think about anything else the entire movie. And so like in the original, the surfing scene.
Yes.
It's a very sweet, very cool thing with Nani and Lilo and Stitch and David surfing, and they're having fun. In the original, Jumba like is underwater and like comes out of the wave and grabs Stitch.
Yeah.
And that ends up kickstarting the whole like thing where Lilo is in trouble and they all fall off the board and they think that Lilo is drowning and they think that Stitch is like dragging her down, even though it's because he's like, you know, his molecular density is high, so he sinks in the water. It all started because Jumba like swooshed out of the wave from underwater and like grabbed him and kind of wrecked everything. Going through the whole movie, I was like, is that going to be in this? Is it like them live action surfing? Is Jumba going to come out of like CGI alien monster Jumba going to come out of the wave and grab Stitch? Is that how that scene's going to go down? And as it's getting closer to it, and then Zach Galifianakis and Billy Magnuson do the thing where they're going to be human for a bunch of it. And I was like, oh. And I was like, is human Zach Galifianakis going to come out of the wave and grab Stitch? That would look ridiculous. And then, of course, to actually get to the scene, and it's like, of course, they're just not doing it at all. Like,
yeah, they're just on a jet ski. Yeah. All right. I want to end by being a little nice about this movie, because even though we lose a lot, we gain some things, but we gain very little. Stitch is Stitch. He's great.
Yeah. He is. His speech at the end, the thing that makes me cry every time, like in the original, is great and also makes me cry because it's the same.
This is my family. It's little and broken, but still good. Yeah, still good.
Yeah, it's perfect and it's beautiful. Yeah. And it's good in this too because it's literally just the same thing.
Okay, a lot of people are really mad that Nani goes to school.
Yes, people are very mad about that.
Because in the original, the whole thing is Nani wants Lilo to live with her, and they do end up living together at the end. And in this one, Nani wants to go to college, which is a totally new thing that they've added. Nani never had things she wanted before. And I really like this idea because forcing a teenager to be put in a parental position is unfair, and I don't think it's healthy, and I think it is much better to let Nani actually like do the things she wants to do and live her life. Because this movie, I mean, I have this to say, this movie, now you're thinking with portals, because now there's a portal gun.
God damn it, I totally forgot about that. There's a portal. They just rip off the portal gun from Portal for no
But they use it. I mean, I'm spoiling the end, but they use it to come up with a way for Nani to hang out with Lilo even when she's off at school, which is, I think, is sweet. But here's the thing. This movie isn't Nani, Lilo, and Stitch.
Yeah.
And I think doubling down on Nani being the heart of the movie, which I think this does, is a mistake. And it kills me to say it because I think Sydney Elizabeth Agudong is really good in it.
Yeah.
It's just the story's not about Nani. And this movie feels like it's about Nani more than it's about Lilo. And this Nani seems to really resent Lilo for most of the movie, where even in the original, Lilo definitely annoyed Nani. I don't think Nani ever resented her.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
While I, appreciate being upset about the ending, because for a lot of people feel like the ending betrays the entire theme of the original. It basically says that Ohana doesn't matter at all.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's a little strong. Like, I'm not saying that I'm glad they changed it, but it's not so bad as a bunch of reactionary people online want to say it is. But now, I mean, the people saying that they're mad that she went to marine biology school in San Diego when there's really good marine biology schools on the Hawaiian Islands, they might have a point.
Yeah.
But
but they have a portal gun.
Yeah.
I don't know what was going on with this movie. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
Yeah.
Do you think they cared about the original?
Yes.
Do you think that it was successful?
Not really. There's some successful parts for sure.
But you know what it doesn't do though?
What's that?
It doesn't take away the original.
Nope. It's still there.
And I cannot wait to watch it again because I love it so dearly, so very dearly.
Yeah.
And could have gone on for hours talking about it because there's a lot to say about the original Lilo and Stitch, but I decided to be focused for a mini episode. Well, this has been Adapter Parish. You can always find us online at adapterparishcast.com. There you'll find our social links, contact information, show notes for this and every episode, and more. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll be back in 2 weeks.
Thanks, everybody.